by the Institute for Canadian Citizenship found that 30% of new Canadians aged 18 to 34 said they were more likely to move to another country within the next 2 years. Canada is a country that sort of prides itself on being very welcoming to immigrants. All the political parties are very pro-immigration, and Canada is sort of held up as this country where pluralism works and immigration has been successful. And yet, under this direction, of all people, Justin Trudeau, the person who sort of champions diversity as our strength, he says it all the time. And yet, under his leadership, especially young immigrants, which are the ones that really Canada wants to recruit because they're the ones that help our economy and help us grow and help balance out the aging population and the demographic crunch and all that kind of stuff. Increasingly, they don't want to come to Canada. They want to live here. I think this creates a huge problem for Trudeau. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your research and your reporting on this area?
Well, so I think if I remember correctly, that poll talked about how a lot of people were losing trust in the government. There was an increasing loss of trust in the way government works, and that there was a lack of democratic accountability that people were generally feeling. And that is very interesting because normally new immigrants are not necessarily looking at these issues. I would say they're focused on the bread and butter issues. They're looking at they're looking at employment options. They want to send their kids to school. They want to earn a living. So the fact that they're focused on these other issues is quite extraordinary. And I think there's a general sense of malaise that everybody's been feeling, especially over the last couple of years. And new immigrants are not immune from that. In fact, I would say that new immigrants have also probably been at the receiving end of some of these harsh restrictions, whether it's the mandates. I've met a few new immigrants who don't want to be vaccinated, and so it affects them directly. And just this, like, as I said, there's a general sense of malaise. Where are we going here? And there's a lot of other stuff going on here as well. New immigrants tend to be generally very conservative. I think new immigrants probably, and I can't speak for all new immigrants, but generally conservative new immigrants are not necessarily interested in wokeism. This is not something that they identify with. If you tell a conservative new immigrant that a woman is not really a woman, or that there is no such thing as a woman, they're going to be shocked at these kinds of views. And so there's a cultural element to this, I conjecture. I don't have data to back this up, but I do think that there's a strong cultural component to the way new immigrants feel about being in Canada, because Canada, in a sense, has completely bought into this woke narrative more than any other country, maybe except for the United States.